This episode is called Anastasia in London, back in London. Anastasia in Istanbul. Anastasia in London. Yes, the difference between the tourist and the traveler is that the traveler wouldn't mind coming to a new city at 5 in the morning by bus for 19 hours and a tourist would mind. When your little space in Yalta looks like this. I want to show you a few historical streets in central Yalta today. The streets just off the very city center look a little rundown because until 2014 all the former Soviet republics were not actually doing very well after the breakup of the Soviet Union. And Crimea, being a part of Ukraine and being a part of Russia these days, you know, hasn't experienced the best days of its life. Very weird an option, but we can actually go either to the main embankment, which is pretty lovely, very good looking, or to one of the Romanovs' palaces on the Black Sea, and it's a great landmark, unlike the residential areas around here. I don't know if I can take a taxi from here. You can actually take a taxi by catching it in the street like a cab.
Площадь.
Так.
Центр. А сейчас мы едем во дворе. Машины стоят, значит.
Работает, да. A sign of Imperial Times, Imperial Gardens. Oh, here it goes. It was built in the beginning of the 20th century for the Romanov family as their summer residence. It also has a great piece of land as a park here and some well-known walking trail named Tsar Path. Oh, this is the path made especially for Nicholas II for his walks. It was called, at his time, it was called the horizontal path, walking path. And later it was called the Sun Path or the Tsar Path or something like that. A very interesting tour, by the way. And it got a little bit chilly. It's around 4 degrees Celsius right now. One of the best things in Russia to visit and to see is imperial heritage. Livadia Palace. Before becoming a part of Russian Empire, Crimea was a khanate of Turkish Ottoman Empire. In the 1770s, Crimea was one of the goals of Catherine the Great. She wanted to establish the way out to the Black Sea, establish the Russian Empire presence on the Black Sea. The Russian-Turkish War lasted from 1768 to 1774, if I'm not mistaken, or 72. And in 1771, Crimean Tatars refused to protect Crimea against Russian forces, and in the summer 1771, Russian forces, led by Duke Dolgoruki, took over Crimea in about 16 days. Since then, Crimea was a part of the Russian Empire. But you know, then Ukraine or Novorossiya became a province of the Russian Empire, and then we all were a part of the Soviet Union with many other republics as well. And after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Ukraine separated from Russia and all the basically other republics together with Crimea. And after the Ukrainian Revolution 2014, the Crimean Peninsula was returned back to Russia, so now this is a part of Russian territory once again. I don't feel very confident talking about history because I'm not a historian, and all the facts that I tell you I take from the internet, and it's just a big interest that drives me, and hopefully it's understandable enough for you. At least it's very interesting for me, and I like to share what's interesting. Feel yourself like a tsar for a while. I'm feeling like royalty today. I'm feeling like a tourist today. Got myself a guided tour in 20 minutes. Russians on the 31st of December.
Эту редкую болезнь он унаследовал от матери. Она передается только по наследству и только от матери к сыну.
Feel like an artist. Hey, what's up? It's called Baron Frederick's house, or officially the ministry house with flats for maids of honor. It was a house or a palace consisting of a few separate flats for the people close to the royal family. And Baron accompanied Nicholas II in his business trips and to Livadia as well, here to Yalta in Crimea. He was one of the ministers at the time. Look at this. What? Why don't they build anything like this these days? It's fantastic. And his close relationship with the Tsar shows here in the vicinity of the house next to the Imperial Palace. How do I leave? I need to get to my gathering place for the tour. Do you know that in the Soviet times the religion was prohibited? Funny fact.
Американская делегация располагалась здесь, в Ливадийском дворце, английская в Воронцовском дворце в Алупке и советская в Юсуповском дворце в поселке Кореец. Это самое большое помещение Ливадийского дворца. Среди политических вопросов был один так называемый секрет личных встреч между Рузвельтом и Сталиным. Эти встречи проходили в кабинете. В 1945 году здесь размещалась спальня Рузвельта. Франклин Делано Рузвельт 9 лет перенес полиомиелит, до сих пор передвигался с помощью инвалидной коляски. В возрасте 63 лет 12 апреля 1945 года, то есть вскоре после Крымской конференции, не дожив несколько недель до победы. Рузвельта в Крым сопровождала его дочь Анна Беттигер. На нижнем фото также Анна Беттигер с дочерью Черчилля Сарой, которая тоже сопровождала своего отца на конференцию. Дочери Сталина Светланы на Крымской конференции не было. На экране телевизора демонстрируется историческая хроника Крымской конференции. Это документальный фильм, снятый Сергеем Герасимовым, выдающимся советским кинорежиссером. Пожалуйста, смотрим, фотографируемся и проходим дальше.
if you want a paradox, in the Soviet times, after the abdication of Tsar Nicholas II, his Yalta residence was converted into a sanatorium for peasants. An imperial residence into a sanatorium for peasants. And that's the paradox of Soviet times. But after the war, it was a dacha for the political workers, political officers. So you see, it all got back to where it belonged. Peasants cannot be placed in a palace, and rulers should be praised for what they do. And they should be somebody, at least not with a peasant's mindset, not with this poor mindset. I mean, it's not equal, peasant and poor. It's not equal in all cases, but in many it is. I have just overheard somebody saying that in American schools they actually say to school children that the United States won in the Second World War. If you tell this to a Russian person, they will get extremely insulted, because they actually invaded Berlin and they put the red flag on the roof of the Reichstag building in Berlin, meaning that fascist Germany was ended, and the war was partly ended, and it just basically what we know is that the Soviet army freed half of the Europe occupied by the Nazis, and so we actually celebrate the Victory Day on the 9th of May each year, and it's a big holiday in Russia. And the US, I'm sorry, but they are on a different continent, yes, so it's very difficult to say that with a few couple soldiers, yeah, or a few, I don't know, missiles or gunshots, they won the war against, let's say, the Soviet Union that lost 20 million men. It's just stupid and totally wrong. Again, speaking about history is really difficult for me because I don't know a lot of details, but just these are just basic things that everybody knows. Everybody knows, and some countries wanting to win some honor for themselves or some rewards for something that they haven't achieved. Yeah, it sounds pitiful and ridiculous. You can just ask for an appraisal for something that you have actually accomplished, not for something that you pretend you have. It is just fair, and it is just right, I think. So, Livadia Palace. I have no idea what was happening between the US and Japan though, so I don't know a lot about that part of the Second World War. You better say, but I know that according to the Yalta conference here, between Roosevelt, Churchill and Stalin, I think it's as a result of this conference, Russia got the Kuril Islands in the east added to its territory. So, but I don't really know any details about how the war with Japan ended and what was happening. I wonder what kids are taught about Hitler and the Second World War and the results of the Second World War in the German schools. What are you taught, guys? How are you taught about that? We have had a Nazi force that tried to conquer half of the world. What are you taught in the school? The people in power cannot have a weak will, a weak character. Nobody of a weak character ever succeeded being in power. It can only be a very strong person, but where is that line between when you're a strong person and when you become a tyrant? Yeah, like Stalin, for example. Where was that line between him being a strong ruler and him becoming a crazy tyrant, killing his own people. It's just crazy. Yeah. But you cannot be weak for sure. Oh, such a lovely flat here. Seems to me many literary celebrities also stayed in Yalta. For example, Chekhov and Ostrovsky, famous playwrights. Right there on that side of the river, it's the street named after Gogol, a famous Russian writer, Gogol Street. And this right here is a Pushkin Boulevard, Pushkin Street. This is called Botkin Street, and Botkin was a famous Russian doctor of Nicholas II. And at the end of the street, it's a Chekhov Memorial Museum. This right here is called Chekhov Street. How original, yeah, I would say. It's actually a cultural and literary museum just a little bit further down the street here. Nice. Shall use the pedestrian crossing. Such a lovely view, man. I love old cities. Just absolutely, I cannot exist. Just every time I'm somewhere historical, it blows my mind every time. Just so cool. Pushkin is a famous Russian poet and writer. He modernized Russian language, so he is considered the father of the modern Russian language. He was great. Somewhere here should be his... Oh, here it is, his monument. Pushkin. Alexander Pushkin. Probably the most famous Russian writer inside Russia. Looks like a lovely viewpoint. Do you think we can... I don't know, I prefer to photograph myself somewhere new that I visit. It just makes much more sense. Just for the memories. Shawl from Dagestan. It's actually a traditional Russian shawl. It's supposed to be very warm. I have no idea how to wear it. But I really wanted it, so I'm happy I got one. Gorgeous city views, city vistas. Germany, by the way, is doing now much better than the former Soviet Union, and much better than anybody else. Imagine, they teach something right in the schools, maybe. It's a mineral water, not spring, but what do you call this? Is it still working? Oh yes, it seems to be, it's mineral water. Real one. Because Yalta is in the mountains, I'm sure, and the location is very good for health. I'm sure there are different mineral waters here, and the air is good for your lungs. Russians back in the late imperial times and Soviet times were crazily concerned, and everybody would go to, in Soviet times it would be sanatoriums. Everybody would go to a sanatorium every summer or a few times a year. Like, as I told you, the palace was, Livadia Palace was converted into a sanatorium for peasants. So for farmers, basically, everybody would go to a sanatorium to have some rest. Now we lost this tradition. Now just everybody does whatever they can. Like in the imperial times, in the 19th century, let's say, lots of military people would go here to Crimea, or they really liked some area in the south of Russia, also named mineral waters. It's the entire area which is rich in mineral waters, and it was a sort of, you know, Baden-Baden of Russia. Baden-Baden of Germany is where everybody would also go to improve their health back then. Yeah, now it's still a popular place, but not as popular and not as trendy as it used to be. It used to be very trendy. Like, if you're a cool guy, you would go somewhere either mineral waters or like Pyatigorsk or Baden-Baden if you're also cool and rich. Yeah. Where would we go now? You would go to still maybe to the south of France. We would go to Dubai. Where else? Maybe Thailand, but Thailand is also, can be economy as well, more or less. I prefer traveling sort of wild. Is the cheapest. Hotels, Airbnbs, that allows you to travel more than if you wanted to travel in style. I prefer more or less when it comes to travel. See, even a beauty bar is called Chekhov Beauty Bar Boutique. It's the 31st today. I'm gonna see the fireworks in the evening. Oh, the presents are getting prepared. It's just a miracle of a city. Old, shabby, like a germ. Like a gem of a city. Look at this. Like a gem of a gem. Hidden treasure. See, man, I'm going to Yalta in summer. See, I'm gonna be one of those noble people who would travel to Yalta twice a year. Twice a year, and I don't care. You know, in winter and in summer as well. Yeah, cause сам Бог ведь. Gorgeous shabbiness. My favorite. This taste of old cities. Do you feel this? No? Do you treat these places the same? It's just amazing, man. Nobody builds anything like this anymore. It's just so cool. Oh, yeah, at the sea. Look. And it's Morskaya Street, which means Sea Street. And the sea is at the end of the street. How much can you relate to that? A lot. Viva Italia, it's called. I'm actually looking for a place to eat. Dreams coffee shop. That's the main Yalta embankment. How do you like this Monte Carlo of the Russian South? Shady little city on the Black Sea. Solo travel is one of the best things that have happened to me in my life. I've seen so many cool places and met so many cool people along the way. It's just been one of the best experiences. Still is. Where do you want to promenade? Over there or right there by the sea? I fancy this street. I'm actually looking for a place to eat. gonna stay here for a few more days. What about you? It's telling me like, go back to your village. Yeah. Sochi person. Go back to your village. I know.
Вот, видел? Смотри, это я только глянул.
Здравствуйте, спасибо. What is the traditional Russian New Year's meal? First of all, it's oливье salad. It's I'll show you later. I'll take you now. Champagne, of course, and as the main course, we usually have sort of potatoes with meat or meat with something else. I usually had it already. Meat with potatoes. Somehow tangerines are considered traditional to have. I don't know, probably in the past it was exotic to get tangerines, and that's why people only have them for New Year. And still it's a tradition, though you can get them anywhere. So basically that's some Crimean champagne, and this is olive. It's boiled potatoes, some egg, some pickled peas, some beetroot, maybe some carrots, all boiled, mixed with mayonnaise and decorated. It's really yummy and very traditional. Cheers. For the main course I got myself a portion of... I actually don't have the internet here because it's Crimea, and because of the sanctions the internet is not working on my Russian SIM card, unfortunately, so I could not look up the name of this seafood, but in Russian it's called rapan, a portion of cooked rapan. No, I would just squeeze it in there later, and it's very good with wine. It's very good. Can't help loving food. Food is fantastic. That's pilau, barbecue shashlik. It smells so nice. It's gorgeous. Я только что буквально. Спасибо. I think I have to get some Crimean wine as a present, New Year present for myself. How many wines? This many. I'm not an expert on Crimean wine. Everybody is interested in the most expensive wines usually. Not the most expensive, but more expensive wines. I'm sorry. This right here, going straight on, is the street of another Russian writer, Marshak. He was specializing in books for children. People usually celebrate with their families at home. On New Year's night they sit around the table, they have lots of delicious things. They talk, they watch the president say his speech, just spend some family time. As I'm visiting Yalta, I'm not planning to celebrate New Year in any way, so I'm just planning to see the fireworks in an hour, have my late night coffee and go to sleep. But hopefully the fireworks are gonna be nice. Happy New Year! It's like Café de Fleur in Montmartre. Cheers! There are some traditional songs that everybody knows. Yeah. It's approximately like this.
Уважаемые граждане России, дорогие, заканчивается 2020. Совсем скоро время перенесет нас в прошлое. Да, так происходит каждый день, минуту, секунду.
Сейчас очень важен настрой на созидание. Стремление обязательно реализовать свои личные планы и принести пользу обществу и родной стране. И в такой открытости, щедрости, суть и энергетика этого чудесного жизни. Приложатся успехи в работе, в учебе, в творчестве и любви.
Рождество мир преобразился, радостью наполнился наш дом. Ведь Спаситель нам родился,
стало все сиять кругом.
Этот мир не будет прежним, столько нового узнаем мы, как добро по всей вселенной разорвет оковы тьмы. Со всех улиц отовсюду льются песни радости везде, поздравления друг другу рассылаются по всей земле. С Рождеством! С Рождеством,
See, this house is made of entire blocks of stone with wooden balconies, authentic wooden balconies, and it's a shame that one was replaced. Hopefully it can be all preserved. The historical point of view, it's very important, I believe. Architectural elements, because it is pretty authentic for the area and for the city, and it's pretty cool. Dreams come true in places where people believe in them. Also wooden. That's a former house where Ukrainian writer again was living. Her name is Lesia Ukrainka. I have never heard about her, but obviously it's amazing. It's also an architectural landmark here of the beginning of the 20th century. You can actually rent here. Can I actually rent here? Can you even imagine living in such a historical house? Or maybe it's just an advert. It's a monument of the architecture of the beginning of the 20th century here in Yalta. It used to be a museum, but now it's not working. It's closed, unfortunately. You don't see this type of architecture anywhere. It's wooden, imagine. I haven't ever seen anything of modernism made in wood of this sort. It's crazy, you don't ever see anything like this anywhere. Just here, beginning of the 20th century modernism, and made in wood as well. Alexander Pushkin said, "How beautiful you are, the coast of Tauria." That's the literary or former name of Crimea. Modernist architecture, just. This particular street, I mean, it's Yekaterinskaya Street, is a great example of modernist architecture. Modernism architecture, or Art Nouveau. One of the reasons I love old historical places is this feeling of a find, like a hunt. One of the expensive cars of the Soviet times has been renovated. This thing has been renovated as well. And if you're really persistent and if you're crazy enough, you get rewarded. It's like being in a Harry Potter movie. I'm not a fan of Harry Potter, but it's just an analogy everyone understands. 1898-99, here in this house, Anton Chekhov was living, and Leo Tolstoy and Maxim Gorky were visiting. You know why in any Russian city you can see a lot of streets named after Lenin, Kirov, Kalinin? Because when the Soviet rule came and overthrew the imperial rule, all the main streets of every single city in Russia were renamed after the political activists, political workers of the Soviet rule. That's why in every on the main square of every city they put a monument of Lenin, and you can find it in basically any city, and every central street would be named after him. What do Russians think about it? I think, for example, it is terrible. It just, this regime overthrew everything that existed for hundreds of years. And you can see that nothing good came out of that. So I'm really against what happened, and I'm against any revolution or any revolutionary activity, because it just holds back the development by some dozens of years. so the country basically stops developing. And it's good if it's not declining, but in many cases decline starts with the revolution. See, taking some side streets. So after the breakup of the Soviet Union, a lot of streets were given their names back, historical names back, and even some of the cities were renamed back to the historical names. That's, for example, what happened with Leningrad. Leningrad is modern-day St. Petersburg and is a historical name. And I was born in 1989, and I was still born in Leningrad. And then later, in 1991, Leningrad got back its historical name. It's just crazy, see? Sooner or later, it all returns to where it belongs. So, no stupid theories like Marx's theory, and no stupid revolutions never made any stupid sense. They never worked for anything good. And if you look at the present-day monarchies, where they never had any social disorders, social problems in the society, like Sweden, like the United Kingdom, for example, they're still a monarchy, like Monaco. But oh, what? It's just so cool. But see, they are still monarchies, but they are constitutional, and they are doing really fine because they have never had the turmoils that we went through. It's just insane what would have been if we didn't have the revolution. But we missed that moment when something could have been done. So that's how we got about 100 years, a little bit less than that, of Soviet rule, of communism. Communism never worked. For us at least, it never worked. But now you are here in modern day Russia, strolling the streets of Yalta, a magnificent Crimean city on the Black Sea, a historical gem. Life is nice. It's the 1st of January 2022. Life is great. Well, in the city itself, almost every corner is visually attractive. I'm telling you, every corner is visually attractive. You're so shy, little guy. Most prosperous places here in Russia are usually churches. Churches in Russia, in any city, are also the oldest building. It looks like the stairs of some boyar house of the 15th or the beginning of the 16th century. Just a civilization for that. Every church, usually in any city, is the oldest building because at the time they were building churches. Churches were the only buildings made of stone in every city, and the rest of their houses were made of wood. And that's why they remain until the present day. And many different things happened to the wooden houses because of the city fires. Many of the houses were destroyed and only just a few remained. In some of the Siberian cities, for example, you can see wooden architecture in the city center, but in the rest of the places everything has been replaced with stone building. Oh, see? Very futuristic. I don't know how you treat places like this. It's obviously a street of traditional huts on the side of the mountain. See, people used to do gardening and farming, I believe, previously, and some of the houses still remain on the side of the small mountain. Its own spirit. Oh, ну вот, придется еще раз. It's interesting that every place has its own spirit. If you compare some coast cities here on the Black Sea, for example, Sochi and Yalta, in the spirit of the city, in the feel that they give. Sochi is a little bit simpler, and Yalta is a little bit more complicated. You walk here and you feel there is something special about it. This, you know, complex feeling. Sochi is a little bit not that, without any pretense to be complicated. They just, I'm plain cool. I'm on the Black Sea. If you don't like me, you don't like me. If you like me, just come and leave your money here. Yalta is a little bit filmy. I have this and that, but I'm not going to show off. If you understand me, you understand me. Not if you buy, you buy. If you don't, just go. It's so cool. To me, this is the spirit of Yalta. This is its charm. Turkey is just across the Black Sea, so there are lots of sweets, both Turkish and local. The other day I got this rahat lokum in Sochi. It comes from Turkey and it was just one of the best sweets that I have tried, this particular one. Like you're in a fairy tale. I got myself some Turkish sweets. This is a traditional Turkish sweet called rahat lokum. I don't know the English word for that. And this one is with nuts and chocolate. Turkish one is really delightful. This sweet is called baklava. Rahat lokum, if I remember that correctly, with nuts, and this is some special dough. The name of these two I can't remember. The inside is the soaked fruits in condensed carrot juice and the nuts on top. Years BC, 5th to 7th centuries AD. Old white vessels. Tatar intervention in the 17th. Guess what's right there? It's the hunting lodge of Tsar Alexander III in the mountains in Yalta. not gonna show you. This picture is called Anastasia is visiting Massandra. Have you ever seen Neuschwanstein in Germany? A famous castle in the mountains of Bavaria. In every place there are their own dreamers.
Рыцарский зал декорирован глубоким резным узором картины мастеров голландской и фламандской живописных школ.
Why am I here and not there? Got to show you my rapanas and Moroccan tea. Where are you going today? To Vorontsov Palace in Alupka Beach. I know. Always been, always will be. It's just mine. Count and Grand Prince Vorontsov, Mikhail Vorontsov, was a governor of Bessarabia, which is modern-day Moldova, and Malorossia, modern-day Ukraine, as well as Crimea. And he founded the city of Alupka, where his palace is located. He was the owner of the entire town here on the Black Sea, named Alupka, not far from Yalta. And as well, he founded the city of Odessa in Ukraine, present-day Ukraine, which is also on the Black Sea. And it's one of my cities, a must city to visit a little bit later in Ukraine. He was actually close to the Russian imperial court, and he was a general. And as I told you, a governor of the entire two territories of the Russian Empire, Bessarabia and Malorossia. And also he was from a good noble family of Vorontsovs. And a nephew of Ekaterina Dashkova. Ekaterina Dashkova is a close friend of Catherine the Great, and together they founded the Russian Academy of Sciences. I was studying in the philological faculty in St. Petersburg of the Russian State Pedagogical University, and we were actually having our classes in the first building of the Russian Academy of Sciences, which Dashkova and Catherine II together founded. And it was a really cool feeling, you know, studying in the building, in the historical building where great people like Lomonosov, for example, and Dashkova had their meetings and discussed scientific questions. It's just great. We had a great time studying. And this is the park of the Vorontsov Palace. Vorontsov was great in many ways. He was a great industrialist of the time and one of the richest Russian people. So obviously he was a really good businessman, and also he supported a lot of the beautification projects that took place. He actually, as I told you, founded the city of Odessa, and he owned this entire town of Alupka right here. And at his time, thanks to his efforts, winemaking, for example, here in the area developed and flourished. Also, he started sea transportation on the Black Sea between the cities of the Russian Empire. Of course, he had some art collections, book collections, like all of the noble people, intellectuals of the time had. He was close to poets, writers. They had some love intrigues. He didn't like Alexander Pushkin, for example. Pushkin didn't like him. Pushkin had an intrigue with Vorontsov's wife. Vorontsov's wife didn't like Vorontsov, and she had an affair with somebody else, just camouflaging her real affair with her placing with Pushkin. And Pushkin wrote some poems insulting Vorontsov, and you know, like all these things you read about in the books, but they actually happened in real life with real people. Stuff like that. Very fascinating. And it all kind of took place here. A lot of famous people stayed in Vorontsov Palace, and as he lived full-time in Odessa, which he founded, this palace here was functioning part-time as a guest house. Okay, you know, according to the photographs, I've never seen the palace, so obviously we are walking towards it, hopefully. Yeah, and according to the photographs, it's built in the old Gothic style called grey stone, very minimalist, kind of, I don't know, Gothic. And Vorontsov was living in the second part of the 18th century, and as I told you, was one of the richest Russian men, so he obviously could afford a lot, and it must be something grand, like one of the things he did and he owned. Oh man. And he also was in gardening, and one of the famous gardeners, I also don't remember the surname, of course, because to me he's not that famous, but he was living here for 25 years and developed the landscaping in the south of Russia. In the south of Crimea, for example, there are plenty of landscape parks which are architecturally really significant. See, it's not the Gothic style, it's sort of Celtic style. What style is that? It's, you know, that cold English kind of architecture. And Vorontsov's, oh man, what a rock. Vorontsov's father was a diplomat living full-time in London, so oh no, what? Have you ever been to London? If you have seen the Tower of London, it gives you kind of a similar impression. You just come up to it, it's sort of in the lower lying area, and it's this minimalist and cold, you know, this cold facade, and but the Tower of London is made of white stone, if I'm not mistaken. Just a similar impression. There are, you see some Turkish motifs right here, but the general feel is of Norman architecture. Oh, I don't really know. This northern minimalist style with some elements of Eastern culture. It's just so great. See, and legend has it that this palace was so difficult to build that a lot of construction workers, they were paid really high wages, but they simply escaped because they couldn't handle this hard work. It was so much stonework that they just simply ran away. They couldn't manage. See? Oh, what a piece of London right here in Alupka, in Crimea. I'm happy I've come here. At the sea, in the mountains. You go like, what am I, an idiot? Why do I need your London if I can build London right here? Huh? Winston Churchill during Yalta conference was staying in this castle. It's like never leaving London. Bigger gate for carriages, some courtyard. See? One of the richest people of his time. Not too bad. And it was not his richest mansion. His richest was in Moscow. He also owned a palace in St. Petersburg and some other mansion in Vladimirskaya region, some other mansion somewhere else. The entire city of Alupka here, something in Tbilisi in Georgia, something in Odessa, something else and something else, and it just, see, it just, it goes on and on. It's just crazy. I think I just need to visit it on the inside. Let's go in.
Фуатье изобразил хозяев дворца в образах древнеримских мотивов.
If your dining room doesn't look like this, I don't know why you even need the dining room. I'm just kidding, of course. Tell you a story. Once I visited Cambridge, and you know, you're just casually strolling down the street, then you look left, and what you see, you are literally back in the medieval, and nothing has changed there for 500 years. The street looks exactly like this, just, of course, it looks even older than this and more authentic. You know, we are in the 21st century and people are just standing there casually talking, like nothing is happening around them, but just look around them. Maybe there is nothing about it, right? It's just life. It's nothing. Oh, this reminds me of a traditional Russian fortress. You know, like usually it's white stone, probably it's painted white. This is not like an English fortress anymore. Somewhat medieval, cross style. Veliki Novgorod in Russia, Cambridge in England. What other recommendations do I have? Neuschwanstein in Germany. That over there is called Ivazovsky Rock. I don't know why exactly it's called after a Russian Marinese painter, but Ivazovsky was born in Crimea. He lived in another town, as I understand, but probably he was painting some seascapes from that rock, or it's just named after him. Alupka itself is like, I don't want to work in your office, in your stupid office. I just want to live my little life like this. In fact, this place is called Chai Khana. Chai Khana is a traditional Uzbek restaurant with Uzbek cuisine. So I'm having a glass of Chardonnay just because I felt like. And this is baked pita, thin pita with cheese. This pita is named lavash. And my soup, the soup is named lagman. The first time I'm trying it. It's lamb with different vegetables, greens in thick broths. Must be really good and it smells delicious. Bon appetit! Never seen anything like that. And it is all abandoned. I'm trying to understand why. I think after the breakup of the Soviet Union, nobody needed this all anymore. And it just came into decline. It's not close to the city center. It's a little bit further away. Obviously, it was a just great location. The building of some hotel, a sanatorium, a great football field with the best view you can possibly have. It looks abandoned. Of course, not the city itself. This is located next to a big park that's been abandoned as well. And the Great Palace that stands there empty. It's all real. It's just nobody looked after it. Nobody needed the city. It's not even the war. Nobody's fighting. It's just the city and people are living here. Nobody needed anything. Nobody cared. I wish there was the explanation anywhere. I believe that locals know, and they would probably say that Ukraine didn't need Crimea. Maybe. I don't know. I cannot say for sure. They didn't need anything Russian speaking for some reason. Maybe somebody else who didn't want anybody Russian speaking. I just think it is wrong. It's just, you have no right. People are living in the city. It does not matter what language they speak. I haven't expected that. Oh well. Crimea now is a part of Russia. Yalta is a great city with the most fantastic views. Yeah, partly falling apart, but what other places not falling apart these days? Oh, I know what places are not falling apart. And you probably know as well. Let's move on. See what else is interesting. I haven't expected that. Well, who doesn't like a little bit of fun? It's my last day in Yalta. A very fascinating place, just a love of the city, and I'm definitely going back. All good things, actually, if looked after properly, they come back to life sooner or later, if somebody else does not help them the other way. We always have somebody who wishes us bad. I can't believe I'm not joking. And I'm not joking. I just hate places falling apart. Who doesn't? It's far away from the city center. See, I just like to stroll around. To me it's good. To you? I don't know, but you have a chance to see these wonderful locations. That's been a great private park. Sort of the park that I showed you around the Vorontsov Palace. But this was around another palace that's now abandoned. Oh, lovely, cute place. They don't know any trouble. This park obviously does not belong to anyone anymore. And you are lucky to see some Soviet heritage. They thought it's gonna be magnificent stage, see? Up in the mountains in somebody else's residence park. Because everything was nationalized. All of the noble people were either sent away, all of their property was confiscated, or when the Soviet rule came in the 1970s, after the revolution, everything was confiscated. All of these private properties, they became state properties, and they were turned into clubs for the youth, for the elders. They were turned into sanatoriums for the regular people, noble people, or the people whose property was confiscated, they all left Russia, former Russian Empire, present Soviet Union. They all left, they all emigrated, mostly to Europe, some to the US, and so on and so on. Who didn't have time to immigrate were assassinated, stuff like that. Everything belonged to simple folks. Then Soviet rule fell apart in 1991. Nobody needed these Soviet properties anymore, obviously. Ukraine didn't need that. What's the result? The result is everything in decline. Fantastic. Fantastic. So see, I told you, communism has nothing good to it. Like, are you kidding me? Are you serious? Man, there is no explanation to this. It was a magnificent park, one of the best that you could possibly imagine. Never let any peasants rule you. Never let any peasants be in power. They will fuck everything up. That's why they are peasants, because they are good at fucking up. And only people who made something with their own hands and their own head, what's more important, can do something good. And that's the initiator of all the things. And I don't know a lot of the history, that's Lenin, but he was actually sort of partly living abroad, so he must have had somebody support him before he actually came and turned everything over. Have to state it's an unofficial version, it's just my version about the Lenin. About the rest, it's what it has been. Russian Empire after the October Revolution turned into communist state, where some parts of Yalta are at the moment. Yalta is in Crimea and it's former Ukraine, so you have to look out for what's in Ukraine. Just have no words. What? People are just like, look, like this. But say I'm speechless is nothing. I can't express this. It all belongs to nobody. And imagine who it belonged to. To somebody, it's nearly a castle. It belonged to somebody who could afford this all with the land to build, to project this, to build it. And now it belongs to nobody and is falling apart. И вы тоже попали. So. Ой, не рассказывайте мне об этом. He said that during the Second World War. To be honest, I didn't know that Nazi forces actually reached Crimea and they were holding, see, wow, what are you? They were holding Yalta and Sevastopol besieged. And here they had people camped and burned. I don't know if you could believe this particular piece of information. It's sensational, see? Oh no. But the Nazi forces, they for sure were staying here. Man, it used to be somebody's castle. I doubt that they have enough words. No, I do. I know that Sevastopol is the city of war honor, so they obviously beat the Nazis, the fascists, and drew them out of the city. I don't know a lot about Yalta. The places have been through some very difficult times. The rest, the decline, is not because of the war that's ended in 1945. I'm sorry. The rest is pretty modern. I don't want to make any sensation here. I don't actually like naming some guy who just told me something here. It's just inappropriate. Everybody should be addressed either by their name, or if you don't know the name, you can't called him he. I should have said that guy has just told me. He has just told me. Sounds rude to me, and it's a fact. It's just not polite to name anybody he or she, addressing them back, or just if the person is standing right next to you and you're saying like, he has just said. You can't. There are some etiquette standards according to which it's not good to name anybody he.